professor at the Northwest campus. And I have a great interest in psychology. I've had it for numerous years, stemming all the way back to my early years in class teaching, and even beyond that in college, taking many psychology courses. And I've also have the experience of being a student at some time for many years. I was a student for like 9, 10 years, getting multiple bachelor's and a master's degree in English and in literature and that sort of thing. So I kind of remember the stress that was involved in being a student and kind of dealing with stress and test anxiety and that sort of thing. So I immediately was interested in this kind of a workshop. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to be joined by a colleague of mine in the Mental Health Committee, Karen Van Houten. She will be here shortly, if she's not already here, but she'll be here shortly. And for now, let me just get rolling and let me share my screen. Okay, there is that never-ending tunnel, and that's how I always know that my screen is being shared. And I want to turn over to a PowerPoint. And again, I'm Tony Procell. There will be questions at the end of the session that you're welcome to ask, and I believe you can even ask during the session if you like. I don't have access to or being able to see the Blackboard screen to know if you're asking questions at the moment, but you'll certainly have an opportunity at the end. And I want to begin this session on managing stress by discussing exactly what is stress. Stress, and we all experience stress at one form or another, and in some cases we don't even know that we're experiencing stress. I remember that I mean I get these really intense headaches, and I've been to my neurologist and he tells me you're stressed, and I said, but I don't feel any stress at all, and he says, no, you're stressed and you got to do something to control your stress. And so even if we don't feel it externally and we feel like our days are going smoothly, sometimes stress is happening internally, and our minds are stressing or having anxiety, and then of course other health factors can ensue. But stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension. It can come from any event or thought that makes you feel angry, frustrated, or nervous, and that certainly is something that applies to test anxiety, not just during finals, but it can happen at any time during the semester, midterms, even at the beginning of the semester when you're starting a new class and you feel a little apprehensive or nervous with a new professor, a syllabus, all the assignments that are before you for this entire semester. So stress can start to build up. Stress is your body's reaction to a challenge or a demand. In being a student, the demands are essays, tests, projects, PowerPoints, presentations. In short, bursts, when stress comes in little tiny bursts, stress can be positive. For example, if you're kind of a person who works well under pressure, a little burst of stress of working under the pressure tends to really produce good work sometimes. Such as when it says the PowerPoint says here, such as when it helps you avoid danger or meet a deadline. I remember one time I was carrying this exercise treadmill machine, and I was taking it to a friend's house, and the treadmill completely fell out of the truck onto the highway. And I stressed, I panicked, but it gave me a sense of adrenaline. And at one moment, I don't know where I got the strength, but I was able to lift the treadmill back onto the truck and move it out of the way. To this date, I have no idea, but that was a tiny burst of stress that was used to avoid danger. But when it lasts a long time, when stress tends to linger for days or even hours even, it can be harmful to your health. It can be harmful to your mental health. It can be harmful to your physical health. And so this is kind of the approach that, or the information that I want to relate to you today. And the approach that I'm taking is a very practical approach. I think Carrie's going to get deeper into concepts, but I just want to give you some some basic tips. As I go to the next slide here, 6 ways for you to reduce stress during your finals. These are some of these you, or maybe all of these you already have heard from maybe teachers, parents, loved ones, friends. You've probably seen them pop up on as you're surfing the internet. These are very practical bits, but I think they merit going over again here in the session. The first one is to get a good night's sleep. I like to begin with this one because as an instructor, as a matter of fact, it happened. There's one student in my class who is continually falling asleep. He just does not get nowhere near the amount of sleep he's supposed to get. And he sits in the back seat and he thinks I don't notice him, but I do. And I try everything to keep him alert. I try everything to keep him motivated, try to make the classes interesting. But at the end of the day, he's just lacking a lot of stress. By his own admittance, he stays up late. He wakes up very early. And so he doesn't get that proper amount of good 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep that he needs to get. And as I have here in this PowerPoint, it says, as tempting as it may be to stay up super late studying, and that's what we tend to do. We tend to stay up late cramming for tests, working on projects at the midnight hour. I remember doing it myself, staying up in the library wee hours of the night working on projects. But sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is simply just to go to bed. There's a good chance your brain doesn't retain the information anyway if you were to study right before bedtime. What I want to do here is I want to go on to the next slide, and I hope this works, play you this video. This is probably the most technical that my presentation is going to get, is this video here, and I hope that it comes across. It's about 5 minutes long, but I wanted to start my number one point on getting enough sleep because I see that predominantly. Well, I can't see the other forms of behavior that my students are doing, and I don't understand what's going on and don't know what's going on in their minds or their bodies. I can certainly see the external visuals as to when they're nodding off, when they look droopy, and this leads to some kind of mental health conditions as well, which I'll mention in a little bit. But here we go. It's about a 5-minute video. Let me go ahead and hope you can hear this.
It's 4 a.m. and the big test is in 8 hours, followed by a piano recital. You've been studying and playing for days, but you still don't feel ready for either. So what can you do? Well, you can drink another cup of coffee and spend the next few hours cramming and practicing. But believe it or not, you might be better off closing the books, putting away the music, and going to sleep. Sleep occupies nearly a third of our lives, but many of us give surprisingly little attention and care to it. This neglect is often the result of a major misunderstanding. Sleep isn't lost time, or just a way to rest when all our important work is done. Instead, it's a critical function during which your body balances and regulates its vital systems, affecting respiration and regulating everything from circulation to growth and immune response. That's great, but you can worry about all those things after this test, right? Well, not so fast. It turns out that sleep is also crucial for your brain, with a fifth of your body's circulatory blood being channeled to it as you drift off. And what goes on in your brain while you sleep is an intensely active period of restructuring that's crucial for how our memory works. At first glance, our ability to remember things doesn't seem very impressive at all. 19th century psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus demonstrated that we normally forget 40% of new material within the first 20 minutes, a phenomenon known as the forgetting curve. But this loss can be prevented through memory consolidation, the process by which information is moved from our fleeting short-term memory to our more durable long-term memory. This consolidation occurs with the help of a major part of the brain known as the hippocampus. Its role in long-term memory formation was demonstrated in the 1950s by Brenda Milner in her research with a patient known as HM. After having his hippocampus removed, HM's ability to form new short-term memories was damaged, but he was able to learn physical tasks through repetition. Due to the removal of his hippocampus, HM's ability to form long-term memories was also damaged. What this case revealed, among other things, was that the hippocampus was specifically involved in the consolidation of long-term declarative memory, such as the facts and concepts you need to remember for that test, rather than procedural memory, such as the finger movements you need to master for that recital. Milner's findings, along with work by Eric Kandel in the 90s, have given us our current model of how this consolidation process works. Sensory data is initially transcribed and temporarily recorded in the neurons as short-term memory. From there, it travels to the hippocampus, which strengthens and enhances the neurons in that cortical area. Thanks to the phenomenon of neuroplasticity, new synaptic buds are formed, allowing new connections between neurons and strengthening the neural network, where the information will be returned as long-term memory. So why do we remember some things and not others? Well, there are a few ways to influence the extent and effectiveness of memory retention. For example, memories that are formed in times of heightened feeling or even stress will be better recorded due to the hippocampus's link with emotion. But one of the major factors contributing to memory consolidation is, you guessed it, a good night's sleep. Sleep is composed of 4 stages, the deepest of which are known as slow-wave sleep and rapid eye movement. EEG machines monitoring people during these stages have shown electrical impulses moving between the brainstem, hippocampus, thalamus, and cortex, which serve as relay stations of memory formation. And the different stages of sleep have been shown to help consolidate different types of memories. During the non-REM slow-wave sleep, declarative memory is encoded into a temporary store in the anterior part of the hippocampus. Through a continuing dialogue between the cortex and hippocampus, it is then repeatedly reactivated, driving its gradual redistribution to long-term storage in the cortex. REM sleep, on the other hand, with its similarity to waking brain activity, is associated with the consolidation of procedural memory. So based on the studies, going to sleep 3 hours after memorizing your formulas and 1 hour after practicing your scales would be the most ideal. So hopefully you can see now that skimping on sleep not only harms your long-term health, but actually makes it less likely that you'll retain all that knowledge and practice from previous nights. All of which just goes to affirm the wisdom of the phrase, sleep on it. When you think about all the internal restructuring and forming of new connections that occurs while you slumber, you can even say that proper sleep will have you waking up every morning with a new improved brain, ready to face the challenges ahead.
Well, as you can see, that was a real, I find that video quite fascinating. And one of the things that sleep deprivation or lack of sleep causes is memory issues. It causes mood shifts and mood changes. It causes trouble thinking and concentrating. It weakens your immunity in your body. It's a risk. Doctors have proven that it's a risk for diabetes. It creates hypertension, high blood pressure. It can be cause a weight gain. It's a risk of heart disease. And when the more everyday routine as students are coming and going to work, coming to school, it can create accidents, automobile accidents, that sort of thing. And so sleep deprivation, I see this as an instructor among my students that they're lacking sleep. And my advice, and if there's anything that I can persuade you on today, is to get more sleep. You can find this video online on YouTube, and there's other videos on YouTube that talk about the need for sleep. My number 2 on my list here, and I need to move on here. It's not moving to my number 2. I'll get to it in just a second. There we go. is time management. Something again that I see as an instructor, I see students struggling with time management. I see other professors struggling with time management. I have struggled with time management. Lack of or poor time management causes stress, anxiety, and depression. Again, it affects your quality of sleep that we just talked about, and it creates burnout. And the students are constantly mismanaging their time. They are working on assignments at the last minute. They're putting things off, procrastinating, not balancing, putting priorities straight. What I would do is I would look at my assignments for the week and I would prioritize them. This one will take me more. I struggle more with this course than this course, so I'm going to devote more time to this one than to this other one. And I would find a nice, healthy balance of my time for the week. And I would include in that work, if I have a job, I would include in there time off, spending time with friends, because you need that time off. All work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy, as they say. So you need to manage that, factor that into your time. How much time will that take? Time with family, time with friends, loved ones, and of course, devote the proper amount of time to your tasks, to your jobs, to your studying. And if you create a chart, some students create charts, calendars, and how much they're going to devote to such courses, study time, and that completely wonderfully helps in the decrease of stress and the decrease of anxiety, uh, decrease of depression, helps you sleep better, and it prevents burnout. We don't want to burn out from our courses because we're always rushing and getting to class late and whatnot. So that's number two, is time management. Number three, there's an entire science in number three, meditating, breathing techniques. And in the interest of time, I think Carrie's going to get more into meditative processes, but um, there's some wonderful different varieties, different methods of breathing techniques and meditative techniques. And if you just go onto the internet and put in breathing techniques or meditation, you're going to get some really great methods. One of them that's really simple that I can share with you here is to uh, close your eyes and then for about 3 minutes, just have a really steady inhaling and exhaling of your breath and eliminate all thoughts from your mind and just concentrate on your breath, inhaling and exhaling and inhaling and exhaling, and just do that for 3 minutes. And if you just focus on the breathing and take note of the inhaling and exhaling, you'll be removing thoughts from your mind, and you'll be purging your mind from stresses, from the anxiety that's created by tests or upcoming assignments. Other methods that you can use is use a word such as calm or safety. And when you breathe in, when you breathe out, say calm, and then breathe in. And then when you breathe out, say calm. And you want to do this for about 3 minutes. And that really slows down your heart rate, cleanses your mind. You can do other practices like one called equal breathing, where you inhale and you count to 4, and then you exhale and then you count to 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then exhale 1, 2, 3, 4. You're keeping the breathing equal, the inhaling and the exhaling equal. Like I said, we have, you can go on online. I can really go on in an entire session on just on breathing techniques. If you're ever interested, there is a University of Massachusetts has a wonderful program on mindfulness and on meditation, and there's even a book. And if you go to the University of Massachusetts and just put in meditation, you'll get their website. And if you are really interested in this, you can purchase the book through Amazon, and it takes you through an 8-week process of building on breathing techniques till you finally get to the final week, and then you really are kind of more of an experienced breather, for lack of a better words, and you can really now take control of your thoughts, you can take control of your actions and your breathing techniques, and you can do some of these things as you're entering a test exam, maybe spend a few 3 minutes prior outside with some breathing techniques. One that I like to do a lot is to start with my toes and then work all the way up to my head and close my eyes and just kind of feel my toes and feel them, feel my feet, and just note that they're present, and then move up to my ankles and then feel my ankles, and then move up to my knees and then feel my knees, and then move on to my abdomen and move up to my chest, and then my shoulders and my hands and my arms, going all the way to my head, and spending a few seconds on each body part just feeling it. And that's kind of a really nice steady breathing in and out, and then you'll start to see that it just makes you feel better, makes you better prepared as you're going into the test, because you're much more relaxed. So that's number 3, breathing techniques. Number 4 is something that's quite easy. It's just exercising. There's a lot of forms of exercising. One thing that I recommend, if you're in the campus and you are about to enter an exam in about 30 minutes, is take a brisk walk around the campus or down the hallways, or go outside and just take a nice and brisk walk around the campus prior to your exam. If you like jogging and you're a morning jogger, an evening jogger, that does wonders to release stress and anxiety. In the summertime, swimming is a really fantastic means of reducing stress and anxiety. One of my favorites is cycling. If you ride a bike, if you have a 10-speed or some kind of bicycle, go for a nice 15, 30-minute bike ride around your neighborhood or a track somewhere. Dancing, kickboxing, high-intensity workouts like aerobic, stretching, a nice good stretch before entering an exam, finals or midterm, yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi. Tai Chi is we practice it at the college a lot, and it's just a wonderful. You can go to YouTube and get videos on Tai Chi and just follow the YouTube videos. There's videos on yoga online, Pilates, and good stretching exercises that you can do, especially stretching right before entering an exam. I think it's a wonderful way to reduce that stress and that anxiety. Number 5, this is going to sound strange to you, but drink something warm. Studies have shown that warm water does something to the mind, and it helps it really calm and helps reduce that stress. It's kind of in the same manner that warm milk tends to make us kind of sleepy, calms our nerves. No, I don't like warm milk. I think it tastes terrible, but you can have hot chocolate. You can have teas, as long as they're decaffeinated coffee, green teas, chai teas, chamomile teas. Those are all wonderful. Hot apple cider. This is Christmas time. A good cup of apple cider will help you calm your nerves. You can look this up. I Googled this myself, and there's a lot of studies that show how a hot beverage, a warm beverage, really goes miles into really calming you. And you can have a nice warm drink right prior to an exam, prior to a test, that sort of thing. The last one is surround yourself with positivity. Surround yourself with people who are smiling. People have a positive outlook on life. I have this one student in one of my classes, and this guy is such a happy person. He's always smiling, and he's never lets the exams or essays really bog him down. And just talking to him makes me feel better. having a conversation before class, like a 1 minute, 2 minutes before I get my classes going. It's just joy, and it gives me a whole positive outlook. And as a matter of fact, I can say that out of the 5-6 courses that I teach per semester, or this I'm teaching this semester, that one's my favorite because he makes me feel good. Surrounding myself with him and talking to him makes me better approach the other students. So surround yourself with positive people, people who have a good outlook on life. Listen to uplifting music, read inspirational books. If you are in social media, be careful who you're following. Follow people who are positive people who have motivational websites or comments or sayings online in social media, Instagram, Facebook, those sort of things. And then I know I got to get going for Carrie here, but I leave you with some other things to do here that'll really help reduce your anxiety during finals or midterms or any other kind of assignment is one. This is a really obvious one, study. If you just study for your test, you'll be less stressed about it. You'll be prepared for it. I just talked about social media, but I recommend unplug from social media completely. Eat well. One thing I found is that if you're the kind of person who has to have breakfast, don't skip it that day that you're about to have a big test. Don't let that be the day that you're going to alter your diet or you're going to get on a diet. Have a good breakfast, have a good meal, eat well, stay hydrated, drink lots of liquids, listen to music. We talked about that, uplifting music. And this last one, talk to your professors. If there's anything that's stressing you out, causing you anxiety about your tests, your courses, your assignments, talking to your professors goes a long way. I remember talking to my professors, and they would ease my nerves by kind of prompting me as to what I needed to do, or the test isn't going to be that difficult, or pumping me up by saying, hey, you got this, you can do this, that sort of thing. So that is my 25 minutes. I probably went over that, but Carrie, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying. I sped through it because I know I wanted to give you the time, but I just provided some really practical advice on reducing stress that leads to anxiety, test anxiety, that sort of thing.
Okay. So sounds good. So I just need to be able to share. Let's see here. All right. Can you all see my PowerPoint?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm gonna be asking you questions. So feel free to interrupt me. I'll interrupt myself every once in a while and look at the chat to see if anyone said anything. So this is a presentation about coping with test anxiety. And I have a disclaimer that I want to start off with you all with. So basically, I love to cook and I love to eat and I love to feed people, and I get mad when people don't come to my table too much. And I love to feed my animals and give them all these treats. And my husband's like, stop feeding them so much. You're making them fat. And I'm like, okay, I know. And then the next day, the same thing happens. He's like, stop feeding them so much. You're making them fat. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I know. And here they are actually. And the cat is even fatter now than she was there. She's like a 30-pound cat. She's bigger than I am. And so the point is that every single time he tells me, you need to stop feeding them so much, I say, I know, but I don't do anything about it, right? And so it's the same thing that Tony and I are telling you here today. All of these strategies that we're giving you, these should be tools in your toolbox. If you don't actually implement them, if you don't put them into practice, then they're not going to help, right? So just keep that in mind. Choose at least 1 or 2 things that you learn here today to actually try next week during finals week to put into practice. Okay, so I want to go over 3 specific strategies with you all: mindfulness, thought stopping, and then something called image rehearsal. So we'll start with mindfulness first. So does any of this sound familiar? Have you ever like been feeling some type of way and you didn't know why? Or you were sitting there, you're trying to focus, trying to read your notes, and you're reading the same sentence over and over again. Or you just feel like your life is go, 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 wake up, eat, go to work, go to school, come home, go to sleep, wake up, and then do the same thing the next day. Does anyone ever feel like that sometimes? Like you just don't ever get a second to yourself? A couple people? Yeah. Yeah? Okay. Yeah. No, I feel like that all the time. So, if that describes you, then mindfulness might be something that can help you out. So whenever I talk about mindfulness, I like to show this picture. So we see a man and a dog, they're just walking. The guy, he's thinking of all the stuff he has to do. Oh, I have to pay bills, I have to get my neighbor's mail, my socks don't match, what if somebody notices, this and that. He's thinking of all this stuff. And the dog is just thinking about what he sees, the trees, the sun. The dog is present in the moment, in other words. And that's exactly what being mindful is it's just being present in the moment. So I don't care how busy you are. I'm the same way, right? I always feel like I'm go, 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 go. I'm too busy. I don't have any time, right? If you feel like that, mindfulness can help you out. So what you do is you just take 1 minute. I find someplace quiet. I set a timer for 1 minute. I've done it in the bathroom before, right? Where it's just like I needed to get away. I'm like, I need a minute. Go in the bathroom, right? Whatever you got to do. Set your timer for 1 minute. Close your eyes. And then you just focus on the present moment. So thoughts might pop up, right? Someone might say something like, or your brain might say something like, I have to study for that test later. And you acknowledge the thought and then you let it go. Okay, I have to study for that test. All right, I'll think about that later. Right now, I'm being present in the moment. And so you're just focusing on yourself right now, basically. It helps if you think about your breathing, like Tony was saying. If you focus on your breathing, it helps keep you there. But just it's sort of like hitting the pause button on life, and it's a wonderful thing, right? So a lot of you said like, yes, I feel like that. Go, go, go all the time. This is the way that you hit the pause button. Does you guys want to like try it right now? You want to take a minute and try it? Tony, you have a question?
Oh no, I was saying yes, we can try that for the minute.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna set the timer on my phone for 1 minute. Give me a second here to. Okay, so I'm gonna set the timer on my phone for a minute. The same thing, I want you guys just close your eyes and then we're just gonna focus on this present moment, right? Just be here in the present. Something comes up, think that thought, let it go. So we're gonna go ahead and start. I'm gonna press start. Go ahead, close your eyes. All right. So that was 1 minute. What do you guys think? Does that feel fast, slow? Fast. Okay, that's good. For me, it felt kind of slow. And one thing I noticed, everybody's going to be different, but when my brain is all over the place, that's when that 1 minute feels like it takes forever. So I'm a little bit frazzled right now because it's the last day of classes. Leah, slow, yeah. Did anybody notice anything when you were doing it? Like usually I'll notice anxious for the minute to be over, yeah. Usually I'll notice something like I'm starting to get a headache, or my shoulders are really tense, or why am I squeezing my hands so tight? Just let them go, or I have to pee, or something like that. Did you all notice anything? That you need to breathe better. So do I. I practice the shallow breathing because my chest moves instead of my stomach moving. Oh yeah, okay. Anyone else notice anything? Or how do you feel now? Did it feel like you were hitting the pause button? Did it do anything for you? And so all of these strategies, some of them are going to work for you and some of them aren't, and that's okay. Why y'all are quiet? Oof. That's okay.
I don't
Um,
know. Sorry, I just don't know how to answer the question.
that's okay. Yeah, so maybe I asked a bad question. We're doing another minute. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Okay. So, but again, if that helped you, great. I'm so glad. If it didn't, then that's okay, right? Not all these strategies are going to be good for you. So that's one thing that you can do. And mindfulness is really something that you can do at any time, right? You could be in the middle of the exam and you're like, I can't concentrate, and you can stop and you can do mindfulness right there, and no one's going to know, right? These other two strategies we're going to talk about, which are thought stopping and image rehearsal, these are things that you would do in advance. So stuff that you would do before you take your exam. So we're going to talk a little bit about irrational thoughts and then how to stop those irrational thoughts. So we'll go over some common types of irrational thoughts. And when I'm going over these, think about these and think about, do you have any of these? Do any of these sound familiar? So one type of irrational thought is catastrophizing, which is blowing things out of proportion, making things into a bigger deal than they actually are. Then labeling, which is calling yourself names, usually bad names. Filtering out the positive. So your whole day can be going great. One little bad thing happens and you cling on to that and ignore all the positive things. Should statements, thinking something should be a certain way. All or none thinking, right? Thinking the situation is black or white. It's either A or B. There's no in between, no middle ground. And then personalization. So taking things personally when it has nothing to do with you. So here are some examples of these different types of irrational thoughts. So again, catastrophizing, blowing something out of proportion. Your instructor asks you to give a speech and you're like, oh no, if I have to get up there and get a speech in front of the whole entire class, I'm going to flip out, I'm going to faint, I'm going to have a panic attack, and then before you know it, you make yourself have a panic attack because you're worrying so much. Or labeling. I'm so stupid. How did I do that? My husband does this all the time and talks so negatively to himself. I turn around, I'm like, don't talk to yourself like that in front of me. Like that, I don't want to hear that, right? But calling yourself names. I'm stupid. I'm not good enough. Filtering out the positive. So let's say this didn't happen, but let's say this morning I woke up and it was like Snow White waking up, right? My hair was wonderful. The day was going great. The lights that I usually hit when I'm driving to school, I made the lights. I didn't have to sit there at the red light. Then my gas light comes on, and then I get grumpy. Oh, of course my gas light will come on. Ignored all the good things that was happening and just focused on the one bad thing. Should statements. I should be able to handle this. I should be able to take 5 classes and work a full-time job and be president of a club and do all of these other things that I'm doing. What's wrong? Why can't I? All or none thinking. This is something I thought a lot when I first started teaching, that I was a bad instructor if all my students didn't get A's. It meant that I was a bad teacher. Or personalization. I do this a lot when I'm driving. If I'm in the driver's seat and someone cuts me off, I take it as a personal offense. If I'm in the passenger seat, it doesn't bother me. Do any of these sound familiar? Do you guys, do you feel like you do any of these things? Anybody? All of the above. Labeling. Yeah, Mia. Oh, yes, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, same here. But yeah,
Okay.
I think like everybody feels like that at some point. People just, even though it's not personal or it's not even like personal in any way and capacity, but we just have that internal conflict within ourselves. Like this happened because it's my fault, or it's because like I didn't do a great job. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for example, like teaching. You know, like let's say one class 30 people and one person doesn't get an A, and you feel like it's your fault, but it's reality. It's not like anything personal or anything really remotely your fault. Could
Yeah.
It's like other factors that come in play, but it's just that personal internal struggle that we all have.
Yeah, I agree. And then I see another comment. I do catastrophizing before I write an essay. I always think it'll be hard. I can't do it. And then after it was done, I'm like, that wasn't so bad. Me too, before I grade essays. I always put them off and I'm like, this is going to take forever. And then afterwards, I'm like, I enjoyed that. Right. But, yeah. Yeah. Okay. So again, if these sound like you, if you feel like you have some of these irrational thoughts, there's a technique that you can use called thought stopping. And so this is something, honestly, if you were seeing like a counselor and you shared with them that you had a lot of irrational thoughts, this was would be a technique that they would teach you. So in order to thought stop and change your thinking, you have to do the ABCs of emotions. So the A stands for activating event. It's the thing that causes that nasty thought in your head. B stands for belief. So it's the actual irrational belief itself. And C stands for consequence. So the consequences of those nasty thoughts. So I'll give you an example. And this is made up, but this could have been my husband at work, right? So A, the activating event, your boss comes up to you and they say, hey, you made a mistake on your PowerPoint. There's a typo. B, the irrational belief, oh my God, I'm totally incompetent. I'm going to lose my job. They're never going to pick me for another project again. They're going to think I'm irresponsible. And C, the emotional consequences, anxiety, terror, worry, losing sleep, all of that. And so I don't think we have enough time today to actually practice it, but what I normally do in class is I have my students choose an irrational thought and actually write out the A, B's, and C's. What causes it? What's the actual thought? And how does it make you feel? And so in order to actually stop the thought, we have to add on steps D and E. So D stands for debate the belief, dispute the belief. So essentially, you're rationalizing the irrational thought. You're talking yourself out of it. And the E stands for experience effective emotions. And it sounds silly, but it's if I have a thought stuck in my head every time I'm trying to relax, there it comes creeping up again, bothering me. I'll sit down and I'll write out the ABCDEs. And I'll talk myself out of that irrational thought until I feel better. So going with our example before of the boss pointing out a mistake, you can dispute the belief, okay? Well, it would be great if I didn't make any mistakes, right? But I'm human, right? But making a mistake is not the end of the world. It doesn't mean I'm totally incompetent. It doesn't mean my boss is going to think I'm irresponsible, and what I always do in this stage and when I'm writing out the D is I ask myself, what can I do to make sure that I never feel like this again? So I say, okay, maybe next time I'm going to ask somebody to proofread it, or I'm going to sit on it for a day before I come back to it, or I'll use the spell checker function, something like that. And the E stands for effective emotions. So ideally, after you rationalize the irrational thought, you feel better, right? After you sit down and force yourself to think it through, you feel a little bit better. And so if you feel like you struggle with a lot of negative thinking or a lot of those irrational thoughts, and your thoughts, your own brain is being terrible to you, right? Your own brain is torturing you. Do these ABCDEs. And again, I guess you technically could do it in the middle of an exam, but this is something I would do before, right? So if your irrational thought is, I'm going to fail the exam, you sit down, no, I'm not, right? I'm going to study. I can do, you sit down and you rationalize that irrational thought. And the very last technique I wanted to share with you is something called image rehearsal. Let's see. Okay, cool. So image rehearsal is it's different. It's different than the other techniques. So this again is something that you would do in therapy. And this is actually something that coaches have athletes do. Coaches ask athletes to envision themselves winning, like envision you winning the game, envision you shooting the basketball and it going through the hoop. And studies have actually shown that thinking about doing it actually helps. Even though it's a physical skill, that blew my mind at first. And so we can use this technique, we can use image rehearsal to help us overcome our fears, overcome the things that are stressing us out. So I'm going to use the example of taking a test because this is a workshop on test anxiety, right? But with image rehearsal, what you do is, you close your eyes, you get relaxed, and you always start off by going to your happy place, whatever your happy place is. So for me, it's when I had my own apartment when I lived in Missouri. It was just me and my 2 cats in this big 2-bedroom apartment, and the temperature was good and the sun was shining in through my sliding glass door, and I was just like at peace and content. That's my happy place where I go back to the feeling of solitude, and I like it. I like the feeling of solitude. So we go to our happy place and we stay there for a little bit. And then what we try to do is we picture ourselves overcoming whatever is stressing ourselves out. So again, I'm going to use the example of taking an exam. So I would imagine myself walking into the classroom, sitting down in front of the exam, answering the questions, double checking my work, knowing the answers, turning it in to the professor, and then leaving. But when you do image rehearsal, you alternate back and forth between your happy place and then imagining yourself overcoming your stressor. Whatever it is that's stressing you out, maybe it's talking to your boss about a problem or telling your mom something, or I don't know, whatever it is that's stressing you out. So let's go ahead. I think we have a few minutes left because Patricia says we don't have to end exactly at 2. I want to go ahead and try it really quick. So I'll ask you guys, close your eyes. And I want you to go to your happy place. Go to wherever you feel at peace. And if you don't have a happy place, then you should. Maybe you're sitting on a beach or on top of a mountain. And when you're there in your happy place, do a body scan, do a check, right? Are your shoulders all the way scrunched up? Drop those shoulders, right? They don't need to be so tight. Are you squeezing your stomach muscles? Relax those stomach muscles. Relax your legs, relax your arms. Just get completely relaxed. And so now I want you to think about whatever is stressing you out, but you're going to think about, you're going to picture, you're going to imagine in your head that you're doing it and you're conquering it. If it's an exam, you're sitting down, you're taking the exam, you know all the answers. Or if it's grading an entire stack of final essays, you're sitting down, you're grading it, you're having a cup of hot cocoa, you're enjoying it, everything's going to be okay. Right? So think about whatever's stressing you out, but this time you're overcoming your stressor. You're in control, you're handling it. And now go back to your happy place. The same thing, do that body scan, drop your shoulders, relax your arms, relax your legs. And now you can open your eyes. And so I'm sure it feels kind of lame when you're doing it. But there's been times where I've been, because I have generalized anxiety disorder, there's been times where I've been so anxious that I literally couldn't do this. I couldn't do the image rehearsal. I needed to get myself in a calmer state of mind first. So those are 3 techniques I would recommend for you all. So mindfulness, your life is always go, 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 go. It's your way to hit the pause button. If your brain is torturing you, practice that thought stopping, right? Actually sit down, get a little journal. You can burn it when you're done, you know, it doesn't matter. If you don't want anyone to read it, rationalize your irrational thought. Yeah. And then the last one is image rehearsal, right? There's something that you're really worried about, an event that you're really worried about, and you can just imagine yourself conquering it. And studies show that it works. Patricia says one time she was so stressed, she forgot how to do simple subtraction. Yeah. You know what I did earlier? I boiled water for my tea and I put the tea bag in my cup and I was waiting for it to steep, but I never poured the water in the cup. I was like, what am I doing? Right? Or your mind can play tricks on you when you're stressed out. So that's the end of my presentation, but what questions do you all have? I guess I can stop sharing too. But I'd love to answer your questions. I'm sure Tony would as well. You guys are quiet. I know some of you are my online students, so we would have been in person in the classroom. This quietness wouldn't fly. Okay, yeah, we got a question. Leah. Okay. This question is for the essay due today. I'm still writing my Zootopia paper. Yeah, double space it. Yeah, I'd say that's the norm in college, is to double space the paper. And then I have your name written down, so you should be okay.
That is the academic standard, is to always double space a paper unless your teacher tells you otherwise. But if you're never given instructions on spacing, resort to double spacing. 12-point Times New Roman double spaced.
Yeah. I'm a Times New Roman person too. I don't like that Calibri font. It makes me mad.
Yeah, I keep this where I can read, because I read essays for grading, and it has to be really clear font.
Okay. Yeah, but do you guys have any questions? How do you feel about finals coming up next week?
I have a question for everybody.
Yeah.
How many of you feel like you're getting enough sleep?
Not me.
For me, it's like so and so, like depending. So like if I have a lot of work and need to get things done, I'll stay up as long as I can and then get like a short amount of sleep. But this week I've been getting enough sleep, but I just like try to get things like done like in my own schedule as best as I can.
In Japan, they practice what they call power naps. And some businesses literally have a room of cots, and the employee is asked to go take a 10-15 minute nap during the course of the day, because a good nap goes a long way into mental clarity and concentration.
Okay.
That's smart and pretty good.
I nap in my
Yeah,
office. I'm not even gonna lie. If I'm too
yeah,
tired and I need to nap, yeah.
I do too. I totally nap in my office and close the door. But I mean, it works. And look at who can argue with the Japanese. They live over 100 years, and they have a fantastic diet, fantastic food, and they sleep.
I
I
think they have
think that
lower rates of cancer too.
yes, it's
Matter of fact, they have the best health care in the world. So
there you go. And even that's pretty cool. But and then just because I started with sleep deprivation, and that was my problem when I was a student. That I would literally, back in those days, they trusted students at the library. So our library was open 24 hours a day, and we would literally, classmates would go to the library and sleep in the aisles of the books and fall asleep on tables, and then wake up an hour later and then continue the project and then fall asleep again. There's this guy at the Northwest campus. He carries his blanket, a pillow, his little mask for his eyes, and his slippers. I'm not kidding you. And he gets these two chairs together, and he just takes it. And I feel like I want to join him. It's like, oh my God, he's just getting some sleep there. I mean, because wherever you can squeeze in a nap. But one thing you should remember about sleep is that you can't make up sleep. You can't
Hmm.
say, well, when I reach my 30s or 40s, I'm going to sleep more and make up what I lost. Once you lost sleep, you never make it up. And so one of the things I would practice in terms of tense anxiety is a good night's sleep.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually have a report on why sleep matters, so I can um, send it out to you guys. No, you can't make up for it. It literally
No,
changes the structure of your brain if you lose enough sleep, along with all the other negative effects like the cognitive, the cognitive
right,
effects, and yeah.
right, exactly. And that's an interesting comment. Time lost cannot be recovered, but that means that sleep time lost cannot be recovered. And that's affecting the loss of sleep that you're having now is affecting your heart when you're in your 40s, 50s, and 60s. And then you'll be stressing over your heart then. And there you go. There's this never-ending cycle of stress.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's short-term effects like inability to focus, memory loss. Like Tony was saying at
Mood
the
changes.
beginning, getting a good night's sleep before the exam is probably the best thing you can do because that's when memory consolidation happens. That's literally when the information moves from short-term memory into long-term memory storage. If you don't get enough sleep, then that doesn't happen. Then it doesn't stick in your head. Then how are you going to recall it on the exam? Um, but like Tony was saying too, the effects of not taking care of your body, like not eating right, not exercising, not getting enough sleep, they build up over time. It's a really slow build up over time. It's called allostatic load. And once you get older, once you get to become like a middle-aged adult, you feel those effects from your youth, right? You don't bounce back as easily. Okay, so it's 2 o'clock. I think we're about done. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yeah, the same thing. My daughter is almost 2, and whenever I put her down for a nap, I take a nap too.
You know, my daughter, she would nap religiously. It was like always from 3 to 4 was her nap time. And then one day she said, I'm never going to nap again. And she never napped ever again. It's like, it was just weird. Like, it was just cold turkey. One day said, I'm not doing this again. And she didn't. And that was crazy.
Yeah.
That's wild. Okay, so any last minute questions? Because we've been pretty interested in this topic, so we kind of went a little over, but no biggie. We're glad we have more. You guys were awesome today. I have to say, I enjoyed the entire time. Like from beginning to end, it was a good time. So thank you very much for presenting for us today and taking your time to hang out with us for a little bit. And thank you to the students for sharing their Friday with us and coming to see you guys. And this is the last TVE of the semester, so there isn't another one coming next week. But we do want to wish you all very good luck on your exams. I'm sure you'll do well. Have a good weekend as well.
All right.